Hello, old sport, and welcome back to A Rose Within the Thorns, where we prune the confusion around English so your understanding grows as you read. This is Season 3, Episode 6, focusing on the Great Gatsby. In Chapter 5, Gatsby finally achieved the moment he'd been preparing for. Daisy was beside him again. The reunion happened, and for a brief moment, the dream looked like it might actually become real. Chapter 6 asks for the next, far more difficult question. What happens after the dream comes true? This chapter doesn't rely on one big dramatic event. Instead, it changes how we understand Gatsby, and it begins to show us where the dream starts colliding with reality. So first, let's walk through what actually happened. The chapter begins with the rumors about Gatsby continuing to spread. A reporter even arrives at Gatsby's mansion hoping to interview him. Gatsby is famous, not because people know him, but because people talk about him. Nick then interrupts the present-day story to reveal Gatsby's real past. Gatsby was born James Gatz on a farm in North Dakota. He briefly attended St. Olaf's College in Minnesota, but dropped out quickly because he hated the humiliating work he had to do to pay for it. He wanted a different life, and he wanted it completely. One day, he saw the yacht of a wealthy man named Dan Cody and just rowed out to warn him about an approaching storm. Cody took him on as a personal assistant, and from that moment, James Gatz started presenting himself as J. Gatsby. Traveling with Cody, Gatsby became fascinated by wealth and luxury. He also saw what alcohol did to Cody, and it shaped Gatsby's decision not to drink. When Cody died, he left Gatsby money, but Gatsby never received it because Cody's mistress blocked the inheritance. Gatsby is left with the dream, but not the reward. Back in the present, Nick doesn't see Gatsby or Daisy for several weeks. When he visits Gatsby one afternoon, he's surprised to find Tom Buchanan there with Mr. and Mrs. Sloane, people from Tom's social world. Gatsby tries to be friendly and invites them to dinner. They refuse. They then invite Gatsby to dinner as a polite gesture, and Gatsby accepts, not noticing that the invitation isn't sincere. Tom is contemptuous of Gatsby's lack of social ease and becomes increasingly suspicious of Daisy's visits to Gatsby. The following Saturday, Tom and Daisy attend one of Gatsby's parties. This time, the party feels different. Tom is critical and watchful. Daisy doesn't enjoy it, and Nick notices the atmosphere feels heavier and more uncomfortable than before. Tom tells Daisy that Gatsby's fortune comes from bootlegging. Daisy reacts defensively, and the night ends with Gatsby disappointed and unsettled. After Tom and Daisy leave, Gatsby tells Nick what he truly wants. He wants Daisy to tell Tom she never loved him. He wants life to return exactly how it was before he left for the war. Nick tells him gently that he can't repeat the past. Gatsby insists that he can. So let's look at Gatsby's past and the way that identity is used as a construction. This chapter is the first time that Fitzgerald strips back the myth. Gatsby wasn't born into wealth. He built himself. James Gatz becomes J. Gatsby, not gradually, but intentionally. The renaming matters. Fitzgerald is showing that Gatsby's dream isn't just money, it's reinvention. Gatsby believes identity can be created through willpower, image, and persistence. And if you can rewrite your origin story simply by refusing to accept it. But here's the tension. Improving your life is one thing, trying to erase where you came from is another. And Chapter 6 makes it clear Gatsby is doing the second. When Tom shows up at the Gatsby's house, the discomfort is immediate. Tom isn't impressed by Gatsby's wealth. He's irritated by it. Now why? Well, this is because Tom represents inherited status. He belongs automatically. He does not need to prove anything, and he resents anyone who tries to enter that world by force. Gatsby is rich, but he doesn't have the social instincts Tom's world values have. He's too eager, he's too literal, he's too hopeful. Even when the Sloanes invite Gatsby to dinner, Gatsby takes it seriously, and that mistake exposes the social divide. Fitzgerald is showing that class is not only money, it's behaviour, it's those codes, those unspoken rules. And Gatsby, no matter how wealthy, doesn't fully speak that language. When Daisy attends Gatsby's party, Gatsby expects her to be amazed, but reality seems to fail the dream. Instead, she's uncomfortable. The noise, the guests, the lack of refinement, the atmosphere, it just doesn't feel like her world. Nick even notices the party seems more oppressive than glamorous this time, as though the novelty has worn off and what remains is excess. This is the dream meeting reality. Gatsby built this world hoping that Daisy would step into it and feel at home. But Daisy's discomfort suggests something Gatsby is refusing to accept. Daisy belongs to Tom's class, not Gatsby's. Even if she loved Gatsby, her identity and her social world are not easily separated from what she's always known. Gatsby has this expectation that the past is this kind of demand. After the party, Gatsby says something that changes the novel. He doesn't just want Daisy, he wants Daisy to erase time. He wants her to say that she never loved Tom. That is not a new relationship. That is rewriting of history. Nick tells him you can't repeat the past, and Gatsby answers, why, of course you can. This line is one of the clearest windows into Gatsby's character. He doesn't see the past as something that happened. He sees it as something he can reclaim. Money, effort, and performance have allowed him to build a mansion, a reputation, and a new identity. So he assumes that they can just rebuild a moment in time. Fitzgerald is showing us the limits of the American dream here. Yes, you can reinvent yourself, but time does not reinvest. We see the dream starting to crack here. Chapter 6 makes the problem of the novel clearer. Gatsby didn't only fall in love with Daisy, he fell in love with what Daisy represented at a specific moment. Youth, possibility, status, and a life that felt just out of reach. Now Daisy is real, present, and complicated, and the present does not behave like a memory. Nick even reflects on the ideas that Gatsby's dream was at its strongest the moment it was still a dream. There's a quiet tragedy there. The closer Gatsby gets to what he wants, the more the dream begins to lose its perfection. So by the end of chapter 6, Gatsby is no longer just mysterious, he's exposed. We understand where he came from, how hard he worked to become Jay Gatsby, and what he truly wants. And we also see the obstacle more clearly. It's not just Tom as a person, it's Tom as a class. Next chapter, the tension between Gatsby and Tom begins to surface more openly, and what has been unspoken starts becoming unavoidable. Until then, make sure that you read carefully and listen for how often Gatsby speaks in certainties about what should have been, rather than accepting what is. Because the novel is slowly asking a difficult question. Is Gatsby powerful because his dream is real, or because it can never survive reality? This has been A Rose Within the Thorns, where we prune the confusion so knowledge can grow.